Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel. I forgot exactly when this delivery came in, but as part of a recent delivery, I did get in Space Empires 4X, All Good Things from GMT Games off of P500. This is the last expansion for Space Empires 4X. Space Empires admittedly is one of my favorite war games, and one of the first ones that I got when I first got into the space of the hobby. So it's nice to now have everything for Space Empires. It's been quite a journey to track everything down. But in this video, we're going to crack open All Good Things and see what all we've got in here. So let's start by taking a look at the back of the box. Space Empires All Good Things brings a collection of modular expansions to your Space Empires games for even more replayability and variety. All Good Things serves as a capstone to the Space Empires series, enhancing the base Space Empires game as well as Close Encounters and Replicators expansions. Features include more of everything that you already know and love about Space Empires. Included are extra cards of every type, new terrain types, additional terrain to support larger scenarios, plus star bases, defense satellites, cyber armor, and more. Scenario cards change the overall conditions across the galaxy for each game. Carefully balanced variable home systems which give each player a balanced home system. You never know what will be in your home system from game to game. A new alternate empire playable by up to 2 players, with new ship classes and capabilities, but the same economic engine as the base empire. Missions are resource cards that require a player to complete a mission on the map to gain a reward. They're more work, but a bigger reward. Deep space planetary attributes will give some NPA planets different abilities or bonuses, making them easier or harder to take. Crew cards represent notable crewmen that serve on some of the ships in your fleet, giving them a bonus or an ability. 2 new facilities expand and complete the facilities game. For this final expansion, we carefully collected all of the rules and scenarios from all 4 games into a consolidated rulebook, competitive scenario book, and solo co-op scenario book. Refined solitaire and co-op rules make nearly any scenario playable solo. And we can see all of the advertisements for that. Complexity is at a 4, solitaire suitability, nice and high at a 9. Which, of course, if you guys know my collection, you know solo suitability, but you know solitaire suitability is a must-have in my war games. Anyway, let's crack this open and see what's in the box. We will, of course, start by pulling the shrink wrap off. And holy cow, is that a heavy box. Turn the camera just a touch since it looks a little bit crooked, but not terrible. I think that's probably as straight as it's going to get. Anyway, now we're going to lift the lid off the box so we can start seeing what we've got in here. Come on, there we go. We've got our competitive scenario book. Our master rule book, which will give this a thumb through when it's all said and done, and I definitely like that it's got the new art on here. The solo and co-op scenarios, which I'm not going to thumb through. The card manifest and deep space planet attributes. Looks like also a Space Empires All Good Things production sheet with the facilities in it. And then we've got the ship technology sheet on the back as well. Then we've got a pad for no facilities for All Good Things. Once again, the technology on the back. Then we've got our replicator production sheet, which unfortunately this is not double-sided. Not that I think it needs to be from the looks of it. Then we've got our different fleet types, which are not double-sided. Those are probably for the alternate empire, but we'll see about that later. Then we've got copies of the alternate empire ship chart, all along with the research chart. We've got 2 copies of that. This game plays up to 4, I think. Let me look at the back of the box for a second. It actually plays up to 6. I don't know why there aren't 6 copies of that in here. Then we've got Base Empire ship chart, along with Base Empire research chart. And then more copies of that. Then we've got Then we've got the terrain notes, along with the Deep Space Planet attribution kits or attribute kits or lists. Backside of that. Then we've got what looks like an AP bot player aid. Interesting that it comes with a full bot, not double-sided. Then we start getting into punch board. Looks like we've got the terrain tiles for presumably the yellow home planets. Yeah, well, looks like here's the yellow home planet. And the backside of that. I've got to be careful with this because it's got a habit of punching before I'm ready for it. Then we've got another set of terrain tiles. This looks to be for... I don't know if this is a different color or what that is. Probably orange. Then various terrains. A lot of tiles in here. More of our terrains, and I definitely like that there's a lot better art on here than there are in the chits that you have in the base game, and I do apologize for the glare from the light over top of the camera. Not much I can do about that. These look to be a little bit glossy, but not terrible. Then we've got more tiles. Again, trying to be careful. Then we've got more counter sheets. Looks like we've got for orange now. I see all of our same ships on here that we had earlier. Or that we've had in the base game before. Backside of those. Then for gold. Okay, now we actually have the more familiar chits, and these are stuck together. There we go. They were stuck together for a second, but I got them separated. We've got more of our counters on here. And the backside of those. More of our counters for adding the new stuff that comes with the expansion. Okay. Then we've got more, what looks to be more of our deep space chits. Yep, anything with a white marker like that is deep space. As Jay stops by, very timely, just got this. Well, I just got this in myself, Jay, so that's why we're cracking it here on the channel. Then we've got our last very small counter sheet. There's the backside of that. Of course, we've got our bags, which I'm not sure what of these I'm going to use, if anything. Then we've got our bases, probably for the bigger tiles. Cards, which as usual, I don't break the seal on these until I'm ready, until I figure out what I want to do with them. 9 times out of 10, it's sleeving them. Nothing under the insert, but I am going to save myself some time now and just toss the insert. Because 9 times out of 10, especially after I get everything sleeved and bagged, I don't usually end up keeping the insert when it's all said and done. So we can get most of this back in the box. And by the time I get all this done, I don't see this as being the number 10 time where I would actually want to keep the insert for this game. Let's see. Okay, we've got our various notepads. I want to keep the books, well, I was going to say I want to keep the books toward the top, but I'm going back and forth on how I want to do that. Now I've got to get my fleets back organized. There we are. Definitely want the solo and co-op scenarios toward the top since I play a lot of solo. Actually, I've only played this solo. But we've got all that out of shot. That box will close nice and easily when it's all said and done. But let's bring the master rule book in so we can see how it's organized and laid out. We'll zoom in on that just a touch. There we are. Okay. Hopefully you're getting some... Hopefully, Jay, and anybody else who stops in, you're getting some good information on what you see in the box. Fairly typical GMT rulebook as far as the type of paper used. This is actually a fairly sizable rulebook. I'm hoping there's a way that we've got... Okay, so we do have... Well, I was hoping these would be organized by what expansion they're from. But it looks like we do have light blue is updated Space Empires rules. Purple is play notes. And text highlighted in tan are design notes. Let me bring that up to the camera so you can actually see those notes. We'll see those at a glance as we're thumbing through the rule book. Okay. A little annoyed that there's no new boards in here, but I suppose I can't be completely surprised about that. Okay. Looks like everything at a glance for the base game, or for Space Empires with everything in here, looks to be basically just like you would remember from Space Empires. Okay. And it just seems like everything's still working fine. I was a little bit nervous when I heard something from one of the cords over here jar for a second, but I think everything's fine there. Looks like we've got some crew cards as well. Those are among the cards that I'm not going to break the seal on until I'm ready to sleeve those. I could probably start adding some advanced rules and/or expansions to Space Empires when I get this out in the future. Looks like this could turn into a more traditional soldier-to-soldier combat game. So that could be very cool. If this starts turning into Twilight Imperium a little bit more without the well, I was going to say without the politics, but I think in a lot of these 4X games, you're always going to have some kind of politics in there, especially when you've got other people at the table. And admittedly, that's kind of one of the things I'm starting to get hesitant to about Twilight Imperium. That, and it's just a sprawling mess that eats up an entire day to play through very easily. I think the highest I'd play TI at on an aside is probably 6 players. The idea of an 8-player game of TI just sounds like absolute torture to me. But we'll have to see. Maybe I'll do it once as a bucket list experience. Realize I absolutely hate it, then I'll be like, yeah, no, I'm never doing this again. Of course, that's probably pretty likely to happen anyway. Okay, so we could... Ooh, a black hole slingshot, if you're willing to be dangerous. A lot of updated rules here, probably from one of the expansions. Ship experience in military academies. Advanced construction. Interesting. Resource cards. The replicators, which came out, of course, with the replicators expansion. All right, we've got unique ships. Design the ship for that counter. So we've got unique ships that looks like you can design whatever you want with them, within reason, probably. And special abilities, along with size and cost on the unique ships. Temporal effect, and looks like a quick reference for sequence of play and movement technology chart. And an abbreviated sequence of combat and a more quick reference. So that's very cool. Looking forward to getting this out and dealing with everything for this at some point in the near future. Easy does it. There we are. Okay. And that is everything in the box for Space Empires, All Good Things by GMT Games, fresh off the P500. So very cool now that I've got everything for Space Empires from GMT. I do have one more product unboxing that I want to get to tonight, so stay tuned to the channel for that. I'll probably be jumping into that here before too long. And I'll plug everything that's coming up after that unboxing. Thank you for watching this video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.